Hey there, kids. It's good to see you again. I'm Pops, and welcome to TimzBibleVidz. You know, I was just looking out my window this morning and thinking how peaceful it is when we take a few minutes to talk to God. Have you ever done that? Maybe before school or before bedtime? It's a nice way to remind ourselves that God's always listening. Well, today's story is about someone who talked to God every single day, no matter what anyone said. And his name was Daniel. And let me tell you, Daniel was one brave guy. He lived in a place called Babylon, and everybody there knew that Daniel loved God with all his heart. Every day, 3 times a day, he'd open his window, kneel down, and pray. Now, the king's name was King Darius, and he really liked Daniel. In fact, he planned to make Daniel one of the rulers of the whole kingdom. But that made some of the other men very jealous. They didn't want Daniel in charge, so they decided to find a way to get him out of the way. So they came up with a sneaky plan. They went to King Darius and said, "O great king, let's make a new rule. For the next 30 days, everyone must pray only to you." And King Darius thought, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea," so he agreed. Now Daniel heard about the new rule, but do you think he stopped praying to God? Not a chance. Daniel went right home, opened his window, like he always did, and prayed. He didn't hide, and he wasn't afraid. Well, those jealous men were spying on him, and they saw Daniel praying and ran straight to the king. "Look," they shouted, "Daniel broke your rule." King Darius was heartbroken because he really liked Daniel, but he had to follow the law, and that law said Daniel had to be thrown into a den full of lions. That night, they led Daniel to the den and threw him in. Inside the den, it was dark and quiet, except for a few hungry growls. But Daniel wasn't afraid. He trusted God completely. And you know what happened next? God sent an angel, a bright, mighty messenger who shut the lions' mouths. Those lions couldn't hurt Daniel one bit. The next morning, King Darius hurried to the den and called out, "Daniel, are you okay?" And from inside came Daniel's voice, "I'm fine. God sent his angel to protect me." The king was overjoyed, and they pulled Daniel out of the den, and Daniel didn't have a single scratch. Those lions just yawned and stretched like big, sleepy kittens. Isn't that amazing? Daniel trusted God, and God kept him safe, even in the middle of a den full of lions. Well, you know what? There's a fun way to remember this story, through a song. And this one tells Daniel's story from start to finish, and you can sing right along. Let's listen.
In Babylon, a man so true, named Daniel, loved God through and through. He talked to God 3 times a day. He'd open his window, kneel and pray. The king, he loved Daniel, knew his heart. He saw that he was smart and set apart. But other men were full of jealousy. They watched for Daniel secretly. They used a cruel and wicked tool. They tricked the king and made a rule. For 30 days no one can pray except to our great king. Hooray! But Daniel went home that noon and sang to God a faithful tune. He didn't hide, he wasn't scared. His love for God he proudly shared. They dragged him to the den that night and pushed him in out of the light. Oh, in the dark of the den, he wasn't afraid of the lions then. God sent an angel, a friend so true, to shut their mouths the whole night through. Faithful and brave, his trust was strong, singing to God where he belonged. Whoa. The sun came up, the king ran fast, his heart was beating, a worried cast. He cried, "Oh, Daniel, forest was filled with so much care. A voice called out, I'm fine, you'll see. The power of God protected me. Whoa.
In the dark of the den, he wasn't afraid of the lion's den.
God sent an angel, a friend so true, to shut their mouths the whole night through. Faithful and brave, his trust was strong, singing to God where he belonged. They pulled him up into the sun, no lion hurt him, not a one. They yawned big yawns and stretched their paws. They'd been like kittens without their claws. Because his faith had been so bright, he was protected by God's mighty light. Whoa!
In the dark of the den, he wasn't afraid of the lion's den.
God sent an angel, a friend so true, to shut their mouths the whole night through. Faithful and brave, his trust was strong, singing to God where he belonged. So when you're scared in the dark of night, remember Daniel and do what's right. Trust in God, he's always there. He hears you every single time you pray. He's always there.
Wow, that was great. I just love the part, the power of God protected me. And that's exactly what we can remember too. Sometimes we find ourselves in scary places. Maybe you're afraid of the dark or worried about something big. But just like Daniel, you can talk to God anytime, anywhere. So when you're scared in the dark of night, remember Daniel and do what's right. Trusting God, he's always there. Thanks for joining me today. I had such a great time sharing Daniel's story with you. Be sure to come back again for another amazing Bible adventure. Until then, keep smiling, keep praying, and remember, God's got a wonderful plan for you. Bye-bye, everybody.